Well, hello, hello, hello. I am Angela Odom, and I am so excited to be here with you. So let's go ahead and y'all come on in, come on in, come on in, and we will begin this next episode of the Better You Leadership Podcast. This is a live recording. So come on in, come on in, come on in, and I'll give you the opportunity to go ahead and share this with your friends and family. Make sure you know, of course, if you know some women leaders who are ready to grow their skills, want to enlarge their leadership capacity, then you want to make sure that they are taking notes, right? That's what we're doing today is sharing a series that I do each year. That's what we're doing today. So come on in and make sure you get your notes. And I want to pose the question to you of when do you stop and reflect, in a space of gratitude? When do you do that? When do you do that? So welcome to everyone. And we are going to get started. Again, my name is Angela Odom. I'm a life and leadership coach, and I specialize in helping women leaders build their skills and their leadership capacity through the power of personal development. So I teach a signature SOAR success system. I teach it to women leaders so they can move past undervaluing themselves so that they earn more respect, right, in their careers, and then they thrive in their social environments. Make sure I turn my phone off, right, before we get started. Hey, Carrie. Wait a minute. What'd you say? Good morning from from icy cold Minnesota. I sure hope you are wrapping up. Actually, I was chatting with someone who was born in Alaska. And I was like, I am very familiar with Fort Wainwright, Fairbanks, Alaska, where I served for a few years. And, we were instantly bonding over the coldness. And I think, I keep hearing how that cold is different from the other cold. All I know is I was cold. That's all I know. It's like about the wet cold and the dry cold. I'm like, yeah, bone cold. So we've come to the place again where we will discuss topics that help women leaders thrive, right? So my name is Angela Odom, life and leadership coach. I am the founder of the Better You Project brand. I teach women leaders, how to lead themselves, others, and processes. And again, my whole point is to help women leaders build their skills and their leadership capacity through the power of personal development. So that's what we're doing today. Today, I know every time I say I'm so excited about this, I'm so excited about this topic. Today is a series that I do or have done over the last few years. Now I retired from the Army, from the U.S. Army in 2015, and I started looking at, what I was learning each year, as a reflective tool, as a way to, just stand in gratitude. And so I started looking at the 6 things I learned from 6 people in the previous year, right? In the previous year. So I've done it. I started in 2015 when I retired, and I did 2016, 17, 18, 19. Of course, we just left 2020 in the rear view mirror, right? Some would say good riddance, and I would say, I think it was okay, right? I think it was okay. So I did learn some things from more than 6 people, but I'm going to focus on 6 people that I actually learned from, or learn some things from. Just to pause for a second. So Carrie, what about you? Do you do some kind of reflective tool over the past year or past month? Do you do anything like that? Do you think about who you may have learned some things from, or what you may have taught? Because you're probably teaching people all kind of things. But really, so what do you do as a reflective tool? Just add that to the comments. So let's get started on the 6 things I learned from 6 people in 2020. And I want to just first tell you that I don't mind, really, I don't mind falling. I don't mind falling on my face and looking foolish or being rejected. I think really falling down, and not getting it right the first time or the second time or sometimes the 1,000th time, right? If that's like a real word, how you say that, it's a part of growth and development. So I'd rather just risk it all, risk being embarrassed, risk being, looking foolish, than to regret at the end. Because I live for the dash, DASH, and that dash. When you go to cemeteries and you see the tombstones, you'll see that what they put on there is the person's name, and they might have some other items on there, but they'll have the date the person was born, then a dash, and the date they died, right? So I live for the dash. And every day, I just pride myself on actually learning something new every single day. And sometimes I want to, make sure, not sometimes, all the time, I want to make sure that I can learn from others, by either, reading about them or watching them. I might not even know the people in person, might not, know them. They might not even know I exist on the planet. And then some of them, of course, I have engaged with. So over the years, it's a mixture, and there are men and women, black, white, tall, short, young and old. And it's always, over these years, it's always my favorite teenager, my son, I learned the most profound lessons from. So I have had him on the list of the 6 people, for these years. And again, started when I retired from the U.S. Army after serving 27 years, 2015, 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20. So what I'll do is I will add those articles to the show notes, right? I'll add those. And we have so many events and activities that, happens to us over time. And for me, I just want to slow down and reflect and just pull out some goodness, right? I want to pull out some goodness. So, and I remain unapologetic about my thoughts on learning and winning. I don't really believe we lose, right? I simply believe we learn from the experiences. And I learned a lot about myself and others in 2020. I mean, I know we probably all did, right? We probably all learned a lot. And if there's something in particular you learned in 2020 by watching others, by just sitting back and observing yourself, what you were thinking, what you were saying, and what you were doing, what did you learn from that? Something that you can take forward. Because what we're doing, again, is we are building our skills and our leadership capacity. That's what we're doing, right? That's what we're doing. And if that's not what you're doing, now it's time for you to do it. So let's get started. Let's get started with the list of people. So for me, one is Jim Clyburn. He's a U.S. representative in South Carolina, right? And then there's Joe Biden, our 46th president of the United States. Kamala Harris, our first vice president, woman vice president, right? I always think it's interesting when they're announcing her and they say first African American, and first Asian American vice president. And I say she is the first woman, vice president. And all of those things also, I don't take away from it. First of all, I want them to acknowledge that she is the vice president, period, right? And then all those other things afterwards, all those, qualifiers. And then Rosetta Thurman. And then there's Yvonne Crawford. And then there's my favorite teenager. So we'll go through those. And if there's some people that you have learned from over this past year, I'd really love to know, what that might look like. Hey, Mo. And so, good morning, Mo, and good morning, Carrie. Oh, okay. So, Carrie, you say you don't really look over things that worked and things that did not. Okay. And Mo, you said, okay, you love living for the dash. Yes, 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 and yes. So let's get started. I'll just share my lessons with you, and I'd love to know your lessons. So the lesson I learned from Representative Jim Clyburn, if you want to, not you, me, I want to live so that I'm listened to, right? I want to live so that when I speak, people actually listen to me. So his name is James Enos Clyburn. He's 80 years old, right? He's an American politician and a Democratic member of the U.S. House of Representatives from South Carolina. And he served as the House Majority Whip since 2019. Majority, minority, whomever has the most of their party in the House, is the majority in there. That's all that means, right? So I'm sure I don't stand alone in acknowledging Representative Clyburn's endorsement of Joe Biden as a key. It was like a key inflection point. Inflection, meaning it was like bam, it changed everything, right? It was like a pivot during the Democratic primaries. And so for many of you might not be like me and focus on civic engagements. It's one of my passions, right? One of my passions is civic engagement, knowing what our politicians are doing on our behalf. We vote these folks in. So I vote in every single election. I vote at the lowest local level and at the highest level, right? And so there's a clear distinction between the before and after of when Jim Clyburn endorsed Joe Biden. There was like 29 candidates in this crowded field of politicians, Democratic politicians running to be the person standing to run against the former president, president number 45 president. Of course, Joe Biden is now number 46, but there was like 29 candidates, Democratic candidates in that crowded field. I remember the first time they all were on the stage to debate. It was so many of them, they could not get them all on the same stage. They had to do like two different tiers. And so that was before Joe Biden was lagging behind. And when Jim Clyburn endorsed him, this was actually early before, everybody was all in a panic about the pandemic, right? We're shutting things down, wearing our masks, somewhat, all that kind of things. But it was before that. So Joe Biden's campaign was floundering. Then after the endorsement, Biden won in South Carolina and he never looked back, right? He just went across and won all those southern states and then continued to win until, of course, he won the primary and, of course, he won the general election. So the lesson for me, just watching Jim Clyburn is to live my life in such a manner that when I speak, people actually listen. And so that means there's some character in there. There's some consistency in there. And I just think that's like a huge lesson all by itself, okay, there you go. So I want you all to know that my sister, like my mama and daddy's daughter, not like I have sorority sisters, I have other sisters, right? But my sister is here today live. And I don't know if you all know that there's like a school for sisters, right? I think she was sitting in the front of the class. So welcome, Sabrina Odom Walker. There you go. But I want to, just to tell you that first person, of the six, Jim Clyburn, that lesson for me is to live so that you are listened to, respected and all those types of things. The second person, Joe Biden, the 46th president of the United States. So for me, the lesson I gained from Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. It's his full name, Robinette. Who knew, right? But he is the current president of the United States, the 46th. He served as a 47th vice president from 2009 to 2007 under the 44th president, Barack Obama. And, he's been in politics since 1973. Like, he's 78 years old, right? And so what I get from him is the story of the tortoise and the hare. It's one of Aesop's fables. And this is the account of a race between unequal partners. It's so interesting, right? So, slow and steady wins the race. You want to identify your strengths and use them. And the whole story of the fable is that the hare, as in the rabbit, and the tortoise, as in the turtle, the rabbit really was overconfident and, took off. Bam, 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 bam. When they did their race, stopped at the stream to get some water, because he was overconfident. And the tortoise continued slow and steady. He persevered, right? And so that's what I learned from Joe Biden is to identify your strengths, and you want to use those, and you want to keep moving forward. You want to develop coalitions. You want to collaborate, and you want to not be overconfident, right? So that's the lesson I learned from Joe Biden is perseverance is not a long race. It's many short races, one after the other. And that's a quote by Walter Elliott. And so that's number two. And again, the people that you've learned from over the last few months, just put those people's names in there or whatever that circumstances might be. I want to learn from who you learned from, right? And then Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States. I really like the way it sounds, by the way. And so for me, what I learned from her is confidence, competence, and a thick skin, and a great team matters. All that together, because that's what, when I think about her, that's what I look at. So she is, again, the 49th and current Vice President of the United States, the first female Vice President, which basically means that she's the highest ranking female official in U.S. history. And she's confident, competent, seems to be thick-skinned, right? She has to be with that job. And then looks like she has a very solid support system. And so when I look around at myself, I'm thinking, like, what's my support system? What do I need to put in place, right? So I'm running a business, and I want to make sure I have things in place, like my bookkeeper, my accountant, sending me notes right now, like, hello, you need to take care of A, B, and C. I'm like, thank you, I have that. So look at your support system. That's what I get from Kamala Harris, is to have a great team, and she don't seem to take herself so serious, right? And she actually laughs off a bunch of attacks that she is receiving, and I'm sure she will continue to receive them. And why is that? Now, real quick, I want to just say I think that is super duper cool, right? Because I grew up in a house. Right? I grew up in a place where my mother validated me. So whatever somebody else said about me, I didn't believe it. I didn't care, because Hattie Mae didn't say it, right? And so that's when I think about Kamala Harris. That's where I go. I'm like, okay, wow, that's her support system, her belief system. She seems to know who she is. She's on a solid ground, and I love that. Okay, Carrie. So you said what I get from Biden is he knew that. He knew that destiny was to lead. Oh, his destiny was to lead the country. That he would be needed, and then the real right time came. Oh yeah, okay. So he stayed focused. Yeah, perseverance. I'm sorry I messed that up reading your words, Carrie. I get it. Yeah, he knew it. He knew it was his destiny. So there you go. So Jim Clyburn, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and then there's a Rosetta Thurman. She's a life and business coach who helps Black women manifest a life, business, and relationship of their dreams. So according to her website, she has been able to go from $0 to a multi-million-dollar women's empowerment brand. And she was traveling on her bucket list, right? Published some books and hosting a podcast with over 1 million downloads. And she's leading dozens of events and retreats. Then she teaches other people how to do it, mainly me. I've attended a few of her transformational training sessions, and I'm telling you what, I'm fully on board, because what she's doing, what she's allowing us to do is expand what is possible, right? Expand what is possible based on our mindset. And so that's what I learned from her is your mindset matters, right? So I'm looking at this, I'm a seasoned woman, right? So I'm looking at this, this young lady really, who is, just walks the talk. No, how you say, talks the talk, walks the walk. She simply says, this is what I want to do. And she develops a plan, and then she does it. And she has her own niche of people that she works with. And first I was like, well, why don't you work with everybody? And she says, well, this is who she works with. She'll help anybody, but this is who primarily she works with. So for me, and I said, well, you know what? I want to work with women leaders. And guess what? That's who I'm working with. I get people say, well, do you help men? Do you work with men? Yeah, I work with them all the time. They call me all the time. But guess what? I specialize and I focus on women leaders. So that's what I got from that. It's your mindset, right? Mindset matters. Mindset matters. That's what I get. So you basically work with who you want to work with. Do what you need to do to move forward. And then Yvonne Crawford, Dr. Crawford. She's a U.S. Army warrant officer, well-respected, combat-proven technical expert. Then she's a top-notch leader of men and women in and out of uniform. She's still serving, right? So Mo and I actually served with her in Iraq. And so for me, I knew her as a private Adams when she served as a personnel actions clerk in what was Charlie Detachment of the 15th Personnel Services Battalion. And at that time, I was the battalion commander. We were in Iraq. So I've watched her from afar as she has changed her name from Adams to Raft to Crawford. As she continued to knock down goal after goal after goal, and taking care of her family and her unit and herself. She recently earned a doctorate in human resources and services from Walden University. So she'll continue to, she'll continue to climb. She'll continue to grow. One of the things I learned from her is boundaries, right? To be able to achieve all these things, she had to enforce boundaries. And that demonstrates self-love and self-respect. So someone who actually enforces boundaries, that's a lesson I get, right? You enforcing the boundaries, setting time for yourself, whatever goal you have, being able to, and I've watched her engage with other people. She has a big old beautiful smile, and yet she is very, confident again, not nasty with it, but hey, this is how it's going to be. So enforcing boundaries is a level of, or a sign of, or a demonstration of self-love and self-respect, as she is loving and taking care of everyone else. So boundaries, that's huge, boundaries. So I would encourage you to just take a look at your own boundaries right this minute. And what are your goals? And are you, pushing your stuff back so that everybody else build their kingdom or queendom, right? So I'm just so proud of how she's been able to, first of all, lead herself, others, and processes, right? That's what we do. That's what we talk about. That's what we are. So her skills and her leadership capacity, I've watched it grow over the past, what is it? I don't know how many years as it was, like since 2006, but that's what I learned from Dr. Yvonne Crawford. And then my favorite teenager, right? The lesson I learned, and this is the sixth person from my son, is be ye content. I first learned this lesson really from my mom when her oldest brother was in the hospital and could only move his head, right? And I was too small, too young to go to the hospital with her, but she came back and she was visibly upset when she walked into the house. And I was like, you know, what, is he okay? And she was upset with herself because she said she was in there crying and snotting and going on. And my uncle was able to whisper, and he wasn't a loud talking man anyway, but he was able to whisper to her to be ye content, right? As in the scripture, in any state you're in. And he basically conveyed to her that he had an amazing life and that he was not upset with his current condition. He had a stroke, was not able to move anything but his head, right? And so she just stood back and was looking at her own life. And she was just talking about how she was grateful in the moment for her own life and grateful that she had the opportunity to love him and be loved by him, right? And so that was that first time I had heard that, be ye content. But then I took a look at my favorite teenager and I noticed how within 2020, how he found the capacity to move gracefully through several significant emotional events in 2020, right? So he demonstrated a level of resiliency I really didn't know he had, right? He demonstrated resiliency, right? So of course he, like everybody else, he experienced a range of healthy emotions throughout the year, from joy, fear, anger, disgust, sadness, and trust. But mostly he laughed. That fella, well, matter of fact, he laughed a few minutes ago, and I just said, "Are you in class?" Say, "Yes, ma'am." So, but he laughed heartedly when he engaged with what seems to me like a stadium full of virtual friends. Like they're consistently talking and laughing, and they're engaging in deep, in-depth conversations about the news of the day, right? So whether they're adjusting to attending the classes online, and that's a big adjustment. It's a big adjustment. First, that social interaction is like gone. So whether it's that or whether it is weighing the Black Lives Matter movement with the All Lives Matter in that argument, which to me is incredulous. By the way, it's not the same. That's my point of view. So that is whether that is him as a brown skinned, a Black boy, looking at Black Lives Matter movement, basically fighting for equality, right? And so him going through that with his friends and being called a few names himself, rising to the occasion, right? Rising to the occasion. And whether it was the rising worldwide toll of COVID-19 deaths, or the mounting pressure from me, right? For him to continue to be great, the mounting pressure from his mom to continue to be great. And so at the end of 2020, just as he did at the beginning of 2020, he was healthy and laughing and, just happy and laughing out loud, even with all of that. So I was, the lesson I learned from my son, my favorite teenager, is be ye content. Be ye content, right? Be you content. So my question again to you is, what did you learn over the past year? So, share that. Don't keep that to yourself. And I'd love to know that. So again, my six things I learned from 6 people in 2020. Again, a series. I've written this article since 2015, and I will list those in here for you. We go back, and that is Jim Clyburn. The lesson is live so that you are listened to, right? And then from Joe Biden, the lesson is perseverance is not a long race. It's many short races, one after the other. The lesson I learned from Kamala Harris is confidence, competence, a thick skin, and a great team matters. The lesson I learned from Rosetta Thurman is your mindset matters. And the lesson I learned from Yvonne Crawford is enforcing boundaries can demonstrate self-love and self-respect. And then the lesson I learned from my favorite teenager is be content with what you have, right? So there you go. Again, as I started this thing, I'm telling you again, I'd rather risk it all than regret at the end. I live for the dash. I live for the dash, and I want us all to win. All to win. I want to invite you to the Better You Leadership podcast. Make sure you subscribe, right? Make sure you subscribe. I kind of excited now. We're on Apple and Amazon and Spotify, and this is episode number 5. And we will continue to learn. This is the whole point. I want you to just think about this. So I started this podcast not knowing how to do a podcast, but I know how to talk, right? I know what I'm focused on, what I'm passionate about. And that, again, is helping women leaders, build their skills in their leadership capacity through the power of personal development. I know that. And so as far as a podcasting, the practical, technical issues, things you have to do, I'm learning, and it's fun. I'm learning something new every day. So I would encourage you to do the same thing. Do it scared. That thing you want to do it scared. Go slow, go fast. Do what you need to do. Just make it happen, right? Make it happen. All right, Mo, I see you said life is too short. Life is too short. Live with no regrets. Be intentionally. If you do not take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. Live in the moment and make memories. Woo, we need to have this thing posted somewhere. That's awesome. Okay, with that said, my name is Angela Oderman. As always, I'm rooting for you. I look forward to engaging with you again in the near future. You all take care and make it a great day. If you can't make it great, make it wonderful. Smooches.